Hey Bungie, I made Golden Gun 2.0 for you. Welcome back, Guardians, to another Dream Team video. I'm your humble host, Musim777. Today we're going to take a look at Golden Gun. Yes, Golden Gun. Why Golden Gun? Well, presumably at some point we are going to get reworked light-based subclasses, similar to how our current subclasses are, but with the darkness style of perk allocations that allows for a lot more customization. And one of the things that Bungie has been questioning is how they're going to be able to do that. Well, I sat down with a pen and paper and a lot of free time, and I figured out something. It took a bit of sketching back and forth, but I think I've come up with something that is both interesting and balanced. You guys will of course have to let me know in the comment section down below, and if you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. It staves away my depression for a few more days, so appreciate it very much. Thank you. All right, let's get going. First and foremost, I want to talk about some of the things that are design principles that I'm going into this with. First and foremost, I do not believe that you should be forced to sacrifice what you love about your subclasses. So if you want to have some way of formulating your subclass to get what you used to have, then great. There should be some way of you getting that, right? Like, for example, don't take Nova Warp out of the game. Instead, make it to where I can pick Nova Warp with all of my old stuff and add more stuff on top of it. More stuff is much better than less stuff. Don't sunset supers, Bungie. Second principle I'm going into this with is I want to open up how things interact with one another in order to make what we already have feel more interesting. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit here as well, as to what I mean exactly by that. And lastly, make it to where just the stuff that kind of sucks gets a little bit of a facelift, right? I think as a whole, Blade Barrage has been far outshined by Stasis and the Hunter Revenant subclass. So let's bring that up to where Stasis is just a little bit, not nearly as broken, I would say, not nearly as strong, but let's give it something that can at least make it seem interesting. All right, okay, all those principles out of the way. Let's dive into some of the specifics. So first and foremost, a lot of this stuff will be very familiar to what, if you're familiar with Golden Gun, a lot of this stuff will be the same, right? So the jumps, all the jumps are the same. High jump, triple jump, strafe jump. No reason to mess with the classics. They're fine, right? Melees. Now this is where it gets interesting. We've got the old-fashioned weighted knife, which is a high precision damage knife, which when you get a precision kill, it refunds your energy for your throwing knife, same as usual. Proximity knife, still the same. I think that those two as a whole are pretty well balanced, but then we get to the triple throwing knife that the Blade Barrage subclass has. And you gotta remember, just something to keep in mind. I know we get kind of locked into this idea of, well, you stick it on this subclass and that's the tree that you go with. You gotta remember, you can pick it on any of the other subclasses now. So if you want to run weighted knife on a Blade Barrage style of class, you can do that now. So keep that in mind when you're double checking my homework on this, okay? I reworked the knife trick a little bit. Instead of it being knife trick, I'm reworking it to be thermite. Single knife that can be held before throwing, dealing moderate amount of damage, let's say 50 to 100 damage, 50 to the body, 100 to the head, okay? But deals damage over time, 7 for 7. 7 points of damage for 7 ticks. This will cause burn to any targets you get close while it's burning. Are you familiar with thermites from Titanfall 2? This is the exact same idea. It's a throwing star. The idea is that you can pick it, hold it, and then you can kind of see, just like how you can see with the Salvation script, where it's going to land before you actually throw it. When you finally do throw it, it'll deal a moderate amount of damage on the initial hit, and then it'll tick the target for another 7 damage. So if you happen to hit their head and then tick them for the following damage, it's 149 damage, which I'd say is completely fair. I'd say between the other two, I'd say that amount of damage is pretty balanced with how everything else works. Of course, if that ends up being too much, you could just turn down the amount of tick damage that it deals. But I think that's pretty fair. Also, the interesting thing about it is that it is essentially an AoE. Very similar to how a Vortex grenade would work or a Solar Flare grenade would work. It is essentially like a very small version of an AoE. So if you happen to hit a target with it and they run into the rest of their teammates, they'll burn those targets as well. Not for a whole lot, but it's something to discourage people from bunching up a bit. All right? Still with me here. Everybody's still on the same page. Nobody has hit the dislike button. Good? All right, perfect. Dodges, exactly the same. Gambler's dodge, marksman dodge. I thought about adding some type of other dodge in there for like maybe your grenade or something. I don't really know, but I think it's best not to mess with the classics too much, as I think we would start to introduce some stuff that would be difficult to balance because we have no gameplay testing of it. Now moves on to the interesting stuff, the aspects. So the way I have formulated this, and you'll see why hunters are the easiest for this, because I started to work on the Voidwalker as well, and the Voidwalkers, in terms of how they're designed, is a lot different than how the hunters are designed. Hunters are designed very itematically. So each node that you can get within the subclasses can pretty much be exchanged on any of the other subclasses, and it's fine. For example, if you were to swap weighted knife and proximity knife on golden gun, top tree, and bottom tree, not really that big of a deal, right? It's more synergistic on bottom tree, but it's not absolutely crucial. Do that for warlock, and you've completely broken them. They're just dead. I have another way to put it, and they just don't work anymore. So how to get interesting with how we handle the aspects here. Aspect number 1, sharpshooter. Enables precision damage on your super. Now note that I didn't say golden gun. Enable precision damage on your super, which increases its damage and generate an orb of light. So the base golden gun is 3 shots, and you notice that I said specifically the super, and you might pick up as to what I'm gonna get to with that here in just a second. All right. 6-shooter. Your super has 2 times the amount of shots and fire rate with reduced range and damage. Exactly the same that we have right now. I think this makes it a little bit clearer, because as it stands right now, top tree golden gun doesn't make it seem like it has damage drop off. Like there's no real wording that says it has damage drop off. I think this just clarifies that a little bit more. As also, it just doubles the amount of range and fire rate, which will play into something else here. Now is where it gets interesting. Blade Barrage transforms golden gun into a barrage of knives which explode upon impact. Now, at face value, that doesn't seem like anything too crazy. Now, if you are familiar with how the aspects work, maybe you don't have Beyond Light and you aren't familiar with how the aspects work. The aspects can be picked, theoretically, with one another. So, for example, if I had, let's say, 4 aspects, I could pick any 2 of those aspects and slot them, how they work, right? Nothing is mutually exclusive. And if you don't know what mutually exclusive means, that means, for example, you can't, let's say you're melee, okay? Your melee isn't in the same position as, let's say, your grenade, so you can't take 2 grenades or 2 melees. As cool as that might be, they're mutually exclusive, right? You can only pick 1 melee, you can only pick 1 grenade. The aspects don't work like that. So the idea here is that I've designed around it to where you can slot 2 super modifying things. So for example, you can run Blade Barrage with Sharpshooter. Ooh, ah. So now your Blade Barrage does precision damage and it generates orbs of light. Now you're really, really dialing in on making that Blade Barrage extremely powerful. I think that would be pretty damn fun in PvE. Obviously, you'll have to sacrifice things like, say, you know, the Celestial Nighthawk, right? Which is, as it stands right now, one of the de facto best damage dealers for hunters in the game for your super. I'd say in terms of damage, this would be slightly less, let's say maybe 10% less than what a precision shot on the Celestial Nighthawk can do. And the reason being is because the Blade Barrage in and of itself will also generate more orbs. Sharpshooter again says, enables precision damage on your super, which increases its damage and generates orbs, right? So you're able to get those orbs of light off of hitting something. So I can picture a hunter jumping into the face of an ogre and just unleashing a barrage of blades, and just orbs just come flying out of them, right? Let's say it maxes out at 7, doesn't it? So 7 orbs total, right? Maybe they're smaller orbs, whatever it may be, right? But it allows it to play a little bit of a split role, or if you want to go with just raw damage, you of course run the Celestial Nighthawk and then just deal more damage total, or you could go into playing a bit of team support as well and getting some orbs up. Let me know in the comment section if that seems a little bit much. The other side of things here is to run 6-shooter with the Blade Barrage, to just throw an absolute shite ton of grenades. I said grenades. To run an absolute shite ton of blades at the enemy, so if you just want to just carpet bomb an area, that's a way to do it as well. But that's only 3 of the aspects. We've got 6 total. Chains of Woe. Precision kills increase reload speed and aim assistance, something that we've already seen. I've increased the efficacy of Chains of Woe to also increase your aim assistance, as I think reload speed is fine, but I think it could use a little bit of help. So increasing its aim assistance is a soft stat, not something that you can generally increase, and I think that would be a good way to do it. It makes it for a much more skirmishy style of build that you could go for with this, because that aim assistance can mean that you could be really sticky on things, right, in terms of your aim. Knock him down. Precision kills increase stability and handling. Something we've already seen. Nothing crazy. I think this is fine the way it is. And you're going to see some of how this other stuff, you might be noticing, wait a minute, I'm missing some of my perks. Don't worry, we're getting to them. We're getting to them. All right. Lastly, this is a new one for you all. Flicker. The first shot fired immediately after dodging, it ignites the target, dealing damage over time. Ooh, dangerous. How much damage is that? Well, probably just the same amount of damage that Thorn does. Nothing crazy. At worst, it's an 11-second cooldown Thorn shot. Certain weapons could definitely benefit from this. For example, the 120 hand cannons, if you were to dodge, get a headshot, and then get another headshot. If the Guardian's resilience was low enough, you might be able to two-shot that with them. We'll have to see how this goes. Maybe it just means that it ticks them very slowly over time, but this idea, I think, makes the overall subclass very interesting. Again, you'll have to let me know. Like, the one that immediately jumps to mind as being like a red alert, this might be a little too strong, is, like I mentioned, 120 hand cannons. Let's get on to the fragments, shall we? Fragments. Number 1. Practice makes perfect. You guys have seen this before. Precision hits reduce super cooldown. Straightforward, simple. And of course, by the way, I think I should mention this here. I'm thinking for all the light-based subclasses that they should only allow for 2 fragments each. Maybe the more neutral heavy ones can allow for more fragments to be slotted. That'll be something that'll be interesting for balance. The thing is that because this is something we obviously aren't able to play test, I say for right now just keeping it at 2 keeps it fair. Obviously, you guys can say like, I think this one can be 3. So anyway, let's roll forward. Deadeye, your allies gain bonus reload speed when you land a precision kill. Golden Gun has improved aim assist, so kind of bundling the stuff in the top tree into that one in particular. All right. Moving on, playing with fire, killing burning enemies recharges your throwing knife energy. So now you're starting to see some of the synergy with the flicker that we had mentioned earlier as one of the aspects. You can use flicker to, dodge, shoot something, maybe kill it. Then you can get the playing with fire perk to proc, and you can roll from there. Rolling forward, line them up. Precision kills increase super damage and duration, something we've already seen. Just something that if you want to slot for your super and just, play what you already had on bottom tree, that's the way you can slot it. All right. Outlaw, kills with Golden Gun refund 1 bullet. So that's not baked into it by default anymore. So you could run that with, say, the 3-shooter and do some heavy damage to some adds or some mid-level enemies, right? You can get that precision kill with the top, or I guess I should say it's now bottom tree. The bottom tree Golden Gun and just deal precision damage, get another bullet, precision damage, get another bullet, just start rolling from there. I could really see some really fun builds going with that where you can really clear out some adds with it. Burning Edge. While enemies burn, your dodge recharges faster. So now you can start to get some of the synergy for that Blade Barrage to be a little bit stronger, right? Now we've got 2 more brand new fragments, 2 new passive perks that aren't present currently, and these ones you have to let me know. Moxie removes ADF's strafe speed penalty. Throwing knife kills grant a charge with light. Ooh. Now, the reason I'm creating some new stuff here is because A, why not? And B, because I know Bungie will want to create content for us to chase after, so I think this would be a good way to do it, right? To add some new fragments, to add some new aspects in, so that we can make what we already have even more powerful without necessarily sacrificing the stuff that we've already got. Obviously, removing ADS strafe speed essentially means that you've got more than like 100 mobility, as it were, so you can strafe with, say, something like an SMG at full strafe speed as if you would just, were using like a Mida. Like a Mida doesn't really punish your ADS penalty when you're aiming down sights. You can still strafe left and right super easily. I think that would be really, really cool. And then for the PvE players, getting a precision kill with that weighted throwing knife and then continuing to do that to get charges of light could be really, really fun. There's plenty of ways to get charge with light in, PvE in general, right? So I think this would be a fair way to do it, as in general, it would require you probably to run the weighted knife, which would require you to get a precision kill, which I think is a fair enough trade-off. I think if more of our subclasses started to play into the charge with light stuff, we could make more builds around them. But anyway, we'll have to play with that idea a little bit more. Again, drop in the comments. The last fragment we have here is Soul Horizon. Alerts you if you are targeted by an enemy outside of your field of view. Being separated from enemies and teammates reduces super cooldown. The idea behind this is that it's supposed to encourage a more sniper backline playstyle, which I think Golden Gun, if we were to have a dedicated sniper playstyle, I think Golden Gun would be a good way to do this. Obviously, when you're separated from the rest of your team, you're separated from enemies, you're kind of by yourself, right? You're able to just get your energy for your super up a little bit faster. Being that you probably aren't going to be in the fray as much, I think this kind of balances this out as if you were more in that kind of mid to close range spaces, right? And of course, it alerts you if somebody's in your field of view. There's plenty of Call of Duty perks that do something similar to this, so I figured this would be a good way to do it. This would just make it a little bit easier to kind of counter snipe somebody. So if you're getting looked at from somebody you're not able to see, it lets you know that, hey, you should probably dodge here. But anyway, those are the reworks here. I'm curious if you guys have anything of your own that you would like to see here. So again, drop them down in the comment section if you guys have ideas. Like I said, all of this here is a bit of a rough draft. I'm still working on some of it here. I think as I start to get more experience designing more of this stuff, I might come back and redo some of this. If you are new to the channel, like I said, be sure to subscribe. We do tactics on Mondays, do skits and funny stuff on Wednesdays, and we do this kind of stuff on Friday. So if you like this kind of stuff, check it out. You're going to get at least this once a week, and I can guarantee you even better content or even more interesting content will happen throughout the week as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bless your faces, and deuces.